Hello and welcome to the Alpha Anywhere demo and Q&A webcast. I'm Dave McCormick, VP of Product Management here at Alpha Software, and I am pleased to be joined by Dion McCormick, no relation, our lead solutions engineer, as well as Sarah Mitchell, in charge of our documentation department, and a very special guest, Lee Vasic, a professional Alpha Anywhere developer who is here today to show off some of the things that he has built in Alpha and show you some of the techniques that he has used. And we're going to be diving into that. And I think you're going to really enjoy this session. Keep in mind, of course, this is also a Q&A webcast. So at any point, please type any questions about Alpha Anywhere you may have into the questions box of the GoToWebinar control panel. So let's get started today with Lee. Hello, Lee. Are you there?
I am.
Excellent. Let me go ahead and make you the presenter so we can take a look at your screen.
All right.
We can get started. And there's your screen.
There's the familiar Alpha screen.
There we go.
So we'll go under the hood in a minute here, but I wanted to first go and show you an overview of what I've built here, and then we can talk about it here for a moment. So let me start this. And I'm using the local version of IIS to run this. And so we'll publish this here locally, and then we'll run it. And we'll look at it. So one of the things that I wanted to do was I have been involved in a big project for about 15 years now. And in that project, as Alpha would come out with new components, then all of our new stuff would be in the new components. But a lot of the stuff was still in the older components, and we didn't really have the budget to go back and update the older components, which was fine because the older components were great, you know. But after I got done with that project, I thought to myself, so how can I basically, let me get this out of the way so I could see it. I wanted to go through and I wanted to build a showcase kind of application to show potential customers. And I wanted to use all the newest Alpha components and the newest techniques and not use any legacy stuff and not use really any custom code if I didn't have to, because in the beginning, 15 years ago, I had to do a bunch of custom coding, and then Alpha came out with components that resolved all of that. And so I had to go through now and learn some new techniques and new stuff and learn some new components. And so I built this showcase piece called the Vasic Business Software. And this is really designed to show new potential customers what is possible in Alpha. And you'll realize that within this component, I mean, a lot of businesses have a lot of the same requirements. And so if I built this template properly and I built it right, a lot of times I don't have to reinvent the whole wheel. I can just say, well, we'll use the components that I've already built, and then we can add some newer components or requirements depending on what the user needs. But the first thing I did is I made this so it was a multi-tenant application. And so you can see here, if I click on it here, I get the Bike Vault, which is the name of the business. And if I click on number 11 here, then I get this one called Fictus Bike Shop, which is the other company that I have in here. And I just do it this way so it's easy for me when I'm developing. I don't have to keep logging in. I just hard coded it temporarily, but I would make that so you'd have to actually log in. And as you can see here, I mean, I have this menu bar, and I have this menu here, and I have a badge here for different things. And so this was kind of the framework that I built for this. And so then within that framework, I have then this drop-down menu, and it can pull up different consoles. So that's the utility console. But if we go over to the company console, for example, let me show you the schema. So I'm using the AdventureWorks schema from Microsoft, and you can see how many tables are involved in that. So they have sales and purchasing and person and production and human resources and all that kind of stuff. And I think their goal was to create as many tables as possible for a program. But what I've done is I've taken their data and I've flattened out some of these tables so it's easier to use. But I didn't want to have to key in data, and I wanted a data dictionary that was already put together somewhat. And the nice thing about AdventureWorks is it has a lot of data. And I also wanted to use a lot of data just to see how well this would perform in IIS on a hosted environment. And I think it performs pretty well, actually. So the way that this is laid out is we have this up here. So now it stays and it starts to look like a client server application. And if I click on the company data here on the left, what it's going to show is the file. So here's the file here, the company file for Fictus. And so I loaded in the logo into a blob file into the database. And down here I have account numbers. And down here I have program options. If they want to do two-factor, use the policy manager, use fixed assets, use eDocs compliance. And then I have it also built so they can use themes here. So if they wanted to change a theme, they can do that. And then you can see, and then like I say, this is one of the rare times I'll actually put an image in the database, but for a multi-tenant application, I feel like these little icons are not bad to add in the database. It doesn't really hurt at all. And so, and then I'll show you this, and then I'll explain this later. Then for the consoles, I have this area here where I can have these console menus. And so the company themselves then can put anything in this area here. So for example, this is in the catalog area. And so they've put in this thing, please remember we now have a catalog for handmade frames, and then they put a photo in. And then I'll show you how that works later. But just the idea that they can edit their own memos then for the memo fields. The other thing I did here is I like to make it so that this can also be usable for growing, right? I design it so it can grow. So this idea here is, even though some of these only have one item on there, but the menu can grow. And so I build it anyway that way. And then let's see, let me go to the company one and show you. So for example, if I go back home now, so the first thing I want to show is that within the company, every company needs an org chart. And so I've designed this org chart, and then I've attached it here to this list box. So it's a lot easier here because org charts change frequently, and depending on when whoever wants to look at it, you might need to change it. So this is a Google org chart, and it ties in very easily. And this is the one component that probably has some custom code where the others really don't. And so this takes just a little bit of custom coding, but not bad. And then you can see I also added it so you can see the staff that is part of that org chart. And so like I say, one of the ideas here is every company needs an org chart. So if I build this in and this is working this way, then I don't have to keep rebuilding this. And then if you wanted to change somebody, you can come down here and then you can change who the title is and the staff and who it reports to, and then what the tooltip is. And then here also I can change the font. I can change the color and the weight and the style of the font. And then if I hold it over there for a second, you'll see it will show that tooltip. I guess that one doesn't have one. North America. The other thing I like to show the potential customer is it has a help built into it. And so I build this little help thing here, and it will just show like GAAP accounting principles, for example. And I just show them that we want to do something like that when we're building the application. If we come down here to customers, for example, and then we can show also how we can click down here now, the 10 Commandments of Great Service, and it can go to another website actually, if we wanted to. And so again, just the idea that a lot of times the potential customer thinks they know what they want, but they don't necessarily know what's possible within the system itself. Another thing I try to do too is show them this video training. So this is some videos that I made, and this was for a different, I just use videos for a different application, but this comes off Vimeo, and it's built right in very easily. And again, no custom code here. This is kind of out of the box from Alpha. I made this video in Camtasia. And then this is a good little video that just shows how it's really device agnostic. So any application that you're building within Alpha, if you build it properly, You could use iPhones or Androids or laptops or desktops or tablets. And in this previous application that I built, it was interesting because now it went down device by discipline. So not everybody needed a tablet and not everybody needed a laptop. It depends on what you were doing. So if you're in the office, you wanted a desktop. If you were doing what they call an OASIS documentation, which is a huge document, you needed a laptop. But a lot of times you just needed your iPhone to do a lot of different things, like if you were nursing or social worker or that kind of thing. So anyway, I built this to show you could put all this in here and you don't have to do it the old way, which was you know, mark out a week and you bring all of your employees in and you talk to your employees and train them for a week. And what we ended up doing on this last application is just saying, have your employees go through the videos. And if they can go through the videos once, they almost would know the product and how to use the product. So there's very little training in the traditional way once we incorporated that into the help. And then, for example, you have your staff console. And what's interesting about that is, like, what I want to show them, of course, is this staff dashboard, and to show them, you know, again, what's capable within Alpha. And so this is taking the information from the AdventureWorks and just showing your staff count, salary versus non-salary, your vacation and sick liabilities. And you can see in this group that you have a lot of people that have been here about 12 years. Your age group is between 30 and 39, your biggest age group, and then staff count by departments. And here you have production is the most. And then, of course, you can see your staff here. And if we click on somebody here, you can see how I designed this. And it's designed this way for almost every kind of list and form, that it looks like this and it stays within the dynamic panel cards, and then it's sliding that panel card over for the editing panel card. And then, of course, you have reports that you can run. And it's taking that logo out of the database for this company. And then this report here, I just wanted to run a report that would show photos to show that that could be run easily. So everything I'm doing here is to show that potential customer, this is what is possible and available. Now we can go to the catalog console. And if you remember, I talked about what would go on the home page. And so this is that memo out there. And these memos can go on any home page. And so you can have multiple memos for multiple home pages. This is the catalog one. And so you can see it's telling you, remember, we have a catalog of handmade frames. And then we can go here and look at the products in the catalog. And now this is the same component, but what I wanted to show here is how you can break those out. So I could break it out by accessories, and then by bikes. And of course, you can do that within the same component, but sometimes it's nice to be able to jump around like this. And that's what's nice about the dynamic panel cards. And you can see here how the sort works. It shows, for example, in the products, I have a total of 298, and then I can do all the searching up here. But if I go here, I have 97 bikes, and here I have 30 accessories. So that's just a nice way to look at that. And then, of course, you have your customer database. And so within the customer database, you have your list of customers. And you'll notice that the AdventureWorks has over 4,771 customers. The one thing I did, this was not built as a multi-tenancy database. So I fixed that database up a little bit. So this is 4,771 customers for the Fictus Bike Shop. And if I were to change it to the other company in here, you'd see a different number here. And then what really seems to impress the customers too is this one thing where I go and I say, let's see the map of the customers. And so here's a map of these customers in Beverly Hills. And then for those that don't know where Beverly Hills is, you can see if you back this out, you can see a little bit. So here's the Pacific Ocean, here's Santa Monica, Malibu, and Beverly Hills sits right in this area. And so that's what I like to show also. So some of the things that really impress customers are things like the org chart, which is really a hassle for most companies to have to maintain and keep it, and where do they do it, and what program do they use, and things like this map is impressive to them. The video, showing the video stuff is impressive to them as well. And then we have a utilities console. So one of the things in the utilities console is I have this master lookup list. And so I changed that as well versus AdventureWorks coming straight from Microsoft, is they have a lot of different choice lists for different things. I have one choice list, and then I just sort that choice list. And I can call that, and Alpha makes that very easy to call it and to filter it and to use it how I want to use it. And here I was trying something fancy where I'm putting everything in one column. So here's the list, and here's the choices, and then here's the form, so you can update that. And I'm not sure I like this that much, but I just wanted to try that just for fun. And then out here in utilities, I built this thing called the one sheet. And what this does is if I say like business resources, here's these business resources, and you can see here what I've done is I've made it so I can just like move that up if I want to in the list very easily, as you can see, or move it down in the list. And then I can just save them all. And then if I go look at this, you can see how that looks, what that looks like. So I can just put in the details, and I can put in the logo. And then of course, if I wanted to preview it, so I have this thing called business resources. So you can see Alpha is there, and online training, and SQL Authority, and just different sites and things that I use, a text editor, and the icons, flat icon, different things, SSL certificates. And this is really just showing how easy it is for us to build a list like this. And then let's say if we wanted to move the icons to the bottom and then save it all. And there's no custom coding here, right? This is all straight out of the box from Alpha. And see, now you'll notice the icons are at the bottom here.
Oh.
And so then the next one would be sales. If we go look at sales, or actually I should show you WorkDocs real quick. So WorkDocs is one of those other things that sometimes the businesses don't understand how the paradigm has shifted. We want to keep all of our information out there in an AWS 3 bucket. And then so usually I have three of these in the system. I have one for the employees documents, I have one for the company documents like contracts and those kinds of things. And then I have one here for the general work docs. And so for example, if we wanted to see what are the reportable diseases that we're supposed to report if our employees get them, here's Utah reportable diseases, for example. And so we just keep all these documents here because it's so easy to get them and maintain them and to download them. But even a big one like employee insurance plans, if I download that one, it's 320 pages now that I've just downloaded. And you can see how fast it comes off that S3 bucket. It's just bam, it's right there, which is really nice. But this is a really nice thing when businesses see this to help them manage and maintain all of their documents and their compliance and that kind of thing. Plus within the system, we always want to build compliance and have alerts and reminders that say this compliance will be due. Here's one a lot of businesses need an emergency plan for an active shooter and how to respond. So this document comes off of Homeland Security. And again, these documents are out there, they're on the website, but this is real nice just to use this as a repository for all of your company documents. And it keeps all that very nice. So we'll go back home. Then if we go over to sales, we have a sales console. And just let's show the company what is possible if we do some invoices. And so here we have a list of invoices. And if we go in and we want to edit that invoice, I've tried to make it look like an invoice on screen. So you could look and see what that looks like. And then if you click this button, it will show you a preview of what the invoice looks like. And that looks like that. And then sometimes they already have their own pre-printed invoices. And so I've actually then also given this button in part of the demonstration to show what if you wanted to use a pre-printed invoice. So this is a pre-printed invoice. And you can see how that works. So even though there's no line items here, it's still going to show these empty lines because it's pre-printed. And this is very simple to do within Alpha. This invoice actually comes from Excel, and it's just a sample invoice. So I copied this and I made this into a PDF, and I just removed anything I didn't want there. And then this PDF just sits as a watermark when you go to make your report. And we'll go into the hood and I'll show you how simple that is. But this is a real nice way to do it as well. But now let's say if we wanted to create an invoice, we could click on this button here to add an invoice. And you can see here now we're gonna load a company, the list of companies here, and we're gonna say this company here. Let's pick a salesperson here. And so now we're all set. Now let's add a new product. And so we'll say they want to buy a hat that says AWC logo, and then we'll save it. And so now that's there. And then I also did this thing to show them some other fancy stuff you could do. So let's say if I wanted to package up something in a package. So I have two packages here, a clothing package and a mountain bike package. So let's say they just want to buy the standard mountain bike package. So we'll save that. And now there's this little gear here. Now if they click on this gear, it's going to basically explode the line items. So the assembly package has been built. And now you can see it has all those line items. And then if we were to say, well, let's look at that, how that would print out. Click on that little printer icon. And now there's the invoice. It has all that information. And then of course we say, oh, that was already in the package, and so you can delete this item here. And now that item is deleted. And so of course you'll recognize this is the inline editing, and there's a little bit of custom code going on here, but not too much. First off, I wanted it on the right side, so that's pretty easy to accomplish. And then I wanted to change the icons a little bit. Like I don't like the plus on every field. I just want it at the top field if you wanted to add something. And then I didn't need the printer on every row. So I just put the printer only on the first row and the plus only on the first row. But you can see the others. So this is the edit, the save, and the delete button here. And it's just my preference. And so it just depends on what your preference is, how you want to do that. And so that's what the invoices look like. And I think that's everything. And so basically the idea here is if you're in between jobs and you don't have a customer right now, or you're just starting off with Alpha, it would be a great idea, in my opinion, that you build something like this. You build this foundation for your product, and then you start adding these items in your product. And what you're doing as you're doing this is you're building a convention. And your convention is this is how I want stuff to look. This is how I want stuff to act. I want the browsers all to look this way, and I want the lists rather, and I want all the forms to look this way. And so then you build this convention. Now, if I show this to a potential customer and he says, I like everything that you have in here, I just need to add this module. I have some requirements for 2 or 3 different modules. Well, I can just take this and copy this because it's now a template, and then I just add those modules in, and so I can build this stuff very fast for that potential customer. And then of course this is on the web as well, so this is in a hosted environment as well, and that's how I would show my customer, right? I mean, I may even talk to him on the phone And he says, well, let me see a demo. And I say, okay, here's the password, sign into this website, and you can go look at it yourself, and you can add stuff and change stuff yourself. And then he can just play with it to see. So you'll notice the first thing is I didn't have the development server turned on because I'm using the IIS local to run that. But here's what it looks like. And I even gave it a naming convention here, so you could see here's my mainframe, and I wanted it to sort a certain way. And one of the enhancements I've requested is to make it so we can sort on comments, right? Which it doesn't do right now. But in lieu of that, what I said was, well, I'll just name these a certain naming convention. So here's my mainframe. Here's all my consoles for catalogs and customers. And then here's my lists that go in those consoles. And that's how I've named it. So if we look at the mainframe, you'll see now it's very simple because I'm staying within the alpha paradigm. So I have a control bar for the header, and I have a control bar for the footer. And if we jump back up here, you'll see down here, I don't know if you can see that, but down here, the footer, I just have it say Vasic Business Software, all rights reserved, but you can put anything down there. A lot of times what I put down there is I put what group security they're in. I also put the how long before it times out, those kind of things. And so there's just different things that you can put down there. But let's go look at the control bar. So now in the control bar, here's my items. So here's my home button. And you can see here, this is a special button that's basically saying just set the panel active. So that's all that's doing. And then here's my menuing items. So here's my admin menu, and the menu's right here if we click on it and look at it, right? And so here's my company console that it's calling, and here's my org chart that it's calling. So it's a very nice design, very easy to set up and very easy to maintain. And that's one of the nice things about the control bar. So 10 years ago when I built the control bar, it was all custom coding and it wasn't as easy to maintain. So it's really good to know the control bar. And I didn't know the control bar in February of this year. I just learned the control bar in March. And it was very easy to learn, and it's very straightforward, and I like it a lot better than custom code. And so again, the idea is if you can stay within the paradigm that Alpha provides, so the IDE itself is self-documenting, and the control bar then manages everything. So here, for example, is my company name that I put out there, and you can see what it says. Just put the company name, whatever it happens to be. Actually, I'm sorry, this is actually the company name of the different bike shops. I think my company name is right here. The VBS logo is mine. And so that's what that looks like. And then I took that logo and created it in Corel Draw, and then I saved it as a SVG file. So then I also have that. So I try to make everything SVG if I can. And that's another one of those ideas that if you're going to use the latest and greatest and not use any legacy, which I try not to use any legacy in this, I try to use SVG as the latest and greatest. So then, of course, you have some of your actions out here, and then your control bar layout here. And you can see here I have 2 lines. And then, but this top line actually acts as 2 lines, and the bottom line is really a 3rd line. And that's easily done as well. So if I go, first off, if I look at the line properties, you can see that's where I did the style. So my background color, and then the height. I wanted the height a little bit higher so I could put the name of the company right here. And then I wanted this VBS logo to be kind of right in the center. And so if we look at that, this is a little bit of custom HTML here to make that work, but you can see it's not that big of a deal. And then you can see this is the alerts and the badges, and that's very simple to do, right? You just come down here and say, I want to insert. You could say, I want to insert a badge, and then that's how that gets there. So that's pretty straightforward. And then down here is just the menu items. And again, those menu items are nothing more than this control bar here. And if I say I wanted to put a help in, then that drops the help in. So that's very simple too. And I don't have any CSS here, and I don't have any JavaScript here, so it's very, very straightforward what I'm doing. Probably the one thing that's interesting to understand is just the items. So the username and the company name are variables because of the multi-tenancy. And so if we look at this, how that works, it's basically putting a watch on this username, and it's going to say return it. And so when I come out here and I change the company, it actually loads it in these areas here, right? And these are hidden fields. So I'm basically putting them in a panel card, but then I never call this panel card. So that's what makes them hidden. And I just say, put the user ID here, put the username here, the company ID, and then the company name here, and then put a watch on the username. And if this username changes, then show it in the control bar. Or if this company name changes here, then show it in the control bar. And then the control bar footer is very simple, just has this copyright logo here. And then you can see what it says. I mean, it's very simple there. So here's where I set the connection string. And so as depending on what I'm doing, I'm calling a stored procedure here to get the tenant information, and then I'm bringing back this tenant information and loading it into my dynamic connection string. And so once that happens, you can see it's going to change those variables out there. And then everything else is called into this workspace panel card here. And so the idea too is you want to keep this very light and not have a lot going on. You don't want to have a lot of grids or anything in here, because you have that illusion that it's really fast. Well, if the menu pops up really fast, that kind of gives the user the illusion that this can be really fast. Here's your just my image here. I think. Let's see it, look there. And then there's that image there, which is just a GIF file that I have. And then if we look at like the dashboard stuff, you can see it's just very simple, it's the JavaScript charts. And let's see if I preview the chart, if it shows me anything. Yeah, there it is. And I did a little bit of custom coding here, you can see, for the colors and stuff, but again, it's pretty easy to do if you see how it's done. And then the data series. What I find is the easiest thing to do is in the data series is to, let me see if I remember where that is to call a view. So from in the database itself, I've made these views, and then I just call the view, because to me that's a lot easier to do it that way and make the view do all the work. So the view's handling and doing all the work here, and then I'm just using the chart as the presentation layer. Let's see if this will run. Let's turn on the server now to do the live preview. And so then that's what it looks like.
Which charts are you using to do this? Are you using Google Charts or
These are
JavaScript charts that come with Alpha or something
Yep,
else?
these are the JavaScript charts that come with Alpha.
Oh, great, awesome.
Yep. And so that was somewhat new to me too, because I had been using the other the actual other charts that came originally way back when. So I had to learn those a little bit. And so a lot of this stuff, like I said, I tried to use the latest and the greatest. And then if we look, probably the thing that has the module that has the most custom code is the org chart. And this org chart is a Google org chart.
Okay. Yep.
And one of the things I made custom was to say if I want to see. So sometimes depending on the authority, if the state comes in, they may just say, we want to see the org chart. We don't want to see titles. But sometimes the authority comes in and they say, well, we want to see the titles and who they are, who the people are. So then this just gives you the flexibility to see both. But you can see here, like in properties, down here, let's see if there's Google here, Google visualization libraries, and you can see here I've just picked the org chart. And this is all built into Alpha, right? I mean, I didn't really do anything special here. I just said, yeah, I want to use the org chart. And then let's see if we can see where I did all that. I think I have a JavaScript function. And so here's the actual function to make the chart work. Now this is a little bit more detailed because I used it from another project and I didn't really go clean it all up. But basically what it's looking for is if it says hospice or home health or private duty, well, I made it just say company. So I'm just looking for it to say company, and then it's going to load that information. But you can see here, this is where it's going to loop through everything, and it's going to pull out the tooltip and the title and the color and the weight and the style. And this was custom. I don't think this comes in the Google chart, but I customized it because I wanted to be able to change those colors and everything. And then it's pretty straightforward, as you can see. I mean, it's not really doing anything real fancy. It's just pulling up the chart after you've loaded in your variables up here. And then this is the chart refresh function. So if we go look at that now again. And you could do this a different way. You could do this off of your staff table, for example, but I like to make my own little table here so that you can change it quickly, because a lot of times, your staff table isn't necessarily updated properly every time. But you can see, like, I made the president purple here, and you can see if I click here on the right, it updates who I'm clicking on the left. So if I click on the president and I say, well, let's make him, red instead. And then you can see when it updates it here, he's now red. Just little things like that. Or I could go back now and make him purple. But depending on who you're showing the potential product to, if it's the executive office, they're real interested in org charts because they have to handle all that. And they're interested in compliance, and they're interested in the work docs, those kinds of things. But if you're talking to your sales staff, they're interested in the invoices, so each thing can be a little customized for each one.
Sure. So you do have a question that came in, which said, can the org chart structure, can you alter it dynamically, not just who's in each position, but like which positions they are? Let's say you added a third person at technical support or something like that.
Oh yeah, so like if you wanted to add somebody under DevOps 1, for example. So if I click on the add button here, and we'll say DevOps 1.2, for example.
Okay.
And we'll just say, and so it works on who you're reporting to. So he's reporting to DevOps 1.
Okay, I see. And if we wanted to have it as a third one, we could have just said DevOps manager, I guess, as reports to.
Right, exactly. So now he reports there.
Oh, that's really easy. Cool.
Yeah. And so so now if we said, well, actually, he doesn't report to that guy, it all works on who you report to. He really reports to the DevOps manager. So we just choose the DevOps manager. We saved it there. And now it's moved it.
Very cool.
So it's a real, I mean, I've done a lot of org charts over the years, and I've used different programs, Excel and Word and special org chart programs. And
Uh-huh.
the way Google has implemented this, I think is pretty good.
That's great. Yeah.
And you want to
And your,
keep it
your
real simple.
yeah, your
You
implementation is terrific. You could just start at the top, start adding employees and roles, and you have the org chart. This is really neat. Yeah.
And then, what happens if, an authority comes in and says, we need your org chart, and you haven't updated it for a while. You don't have to go to HR or somebody and say, well, go into each employee now and put an end date on that employee who quit and change this to that or whatever. It's you can just handle it real easily here,
Yeah.
which I found to be a real nice way to handle it.
That's cool.
And then, of course, the video, like I like Vimeo, so everything comes off of Vimeo, and that's just very simple. And then the workflow just comes off of an AWS 3 bucket. So that's very simple. Again, no custom coding really. It's all straight out of the box from Alpha. And then the invoices, let's look at those for a moment. And so you see I have the master or the header invoice, like we used to call it.
Mm-hmm.
And then down here is the detail invoice. And then you can see that it's an inline editing invoice.
Oh, cool.
And now it's slowing way down. Too many things open maybe. But you can see here the way I use it. I mean, I'm using Alpha's linking field parent list and this list method to link the IDs together.
Gotcha. Another question that came in, and it has to do with storing documents onto the S3 bucket. And the question is, how do you control access to the docs on the S3 bucket? In other
Well,
words, do you just leave them open and the obscurity of the URL is kind of the
I don't.
doing
It's
it?
very easy. I don't. I encrypt them, and it's very
Oh,
easy
right.
to encrypt them
Oh, yeah.
within Alpha. Yeah. So
Oh, okay.
you just have your special key and that kind of thing. Let me.
Oh, I see. So someone could get hold of the file, perhaps, but they're just not going to be able to see what's in it.
Yeah, like if I go and try to download it, because I know where it's at. If I go try to download it, if I'm not downloading it through the application, it'll just say that this document is corrupted because it can't read the
Oh,
encryption.
okay.
So I can only download it through the app. And again, what amazes me, Amazon will tell you this is very slow, and you need to upgrade to the fastest level. But that was a 300-page document that downloaded very quickly, in my
Yeah, it took
opinion.
no time at all. Yeah, yeah.
But actually, it's not here, but it's up here in your storage connection string.
Mhm.
See, so you have your secret key, and
Mhm.
it's showing you the region. So this is in Northern California, and then I have an access key, my secret key, and then this is the container it's in, WorkDocs library.
Mhm.
So that's how you do it. It's very easy to encrypt that stuff.
Nice.
But it's interesting what customers like. I mean, they really like that they can make their own videos. They really like the WorkDocs that they can download documents and store them on
Yeah,
AWS. They really like the mapping. Anytime you can put a map into it, it's a good thing
yeah.
because that's impressive to them. And so then some of the really hard stuff that we do, they're never impressed by that.
Nope. Yeah, this all looks really amazing. I don't know, just for people out there, if you've got questions as to how any of this got put together or anything like that, or comments, go ahead, type them in to the questions box, the GoToWebinar control panel. You had done some other things too. I don't know if you get into that, but some of the image mapping kind of stuff, which I know is a little bit older technology, but it's still pretty cool.
Yeah.
Show off some of that.
Let me see if I can remember where I put that.
Okay.
Let me see here. Nope, not that one. Let me see here. Oh, here it is. I put it under its own thing, I guess.
And I see once again you started with the A mainframe to create your project. I like the consistency there.
Let's see if this one wants to work. I haven't looked at this in a while since the
Okay.
update, so
Yeah.
it may not. Oh, there it is. Be ready.
All right.
So here, the idea here was I wanted to tie in a couple of different things, and this is called Pool Biz, and you can see Pool Biz is the idea that you can monitor different pools. So this is the Flamingo in Vegas, and they have 4 pools, and you'll notice if I click on pool 4 here, it makes that pool darker, so you know what pool you're looking at. And you can see here I have a heater temperature and the filter PSI and the water temp and the water level. And then if I wanted to turn up the temperature, I could do that like that. And if I went over here to pool 1, you'll see pool 1 jumps up
Cool.
to blue, pool 2 blue, and then pool 3 is like the kiddie pool here. So I may want that temperature to be really warm for the kids. Yeah, and I put these on a toggle, so if you click it or click it, blue or
Oh, I
regular
see.
aqua color. So these are the controls from, let me go look here. I'll show you how I did it. So it's very simple. So I have the absolute layout here.
Yep.
Let me just shrink this down so I can get to it over here. And you'll see what I did here. So here's the picture of the pools, and then I put these other images here over the pool.
Yep.
And that's all. So it's very straightforward what I did there, right? And then you can see that how I broke out the temperature stuff.
Yeah.
So I have the industrial tank and the thermometer and the gauge.
Yeah.
And you can see how that looks. I mean, it's pretty straightforward.
Where did the widgets come from for the controls? They're kind of cool.
And these are jQuery widgets.
Okay.
And let me show you how you load those in. So JavaScript linked files.
Yeah.
And you can see this is jQuery here. And so it's the jQuery, this one industrial stuff is what the 3 widgets, and then the perfect widgets is the temperature. So you
Gotcha.
can mix and match them, basically, is what this is showing. And so that's how you load them in. And then if we looked at the functions, you can see that's how the pool level works, the water temperature.
Yeah.
So the hardest part on this was figuring out how to make it work with alpha. So you
Okay.
can see here, like I'm doing, I'm just saying get the value from whatever it was, and I'm loading to this variable. Then I'm saying set the value.
Hmm.
So once I figured that out, it was pretty straightforward.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and so here you can see as I move that behind the scenes, it's actually capturing what I'm putting this on.
Oh
And then
yeah.
you could save that to a database, so the next time you open it, it would know where you were,
Hmm.
for example.
Yeah, that's really cool.
And then the way I made those 4 pictures is, of course, I just took this picture
Huh?
here, and then I just went around the pool, and I didn't even take, I didn't even try to be real detailed. I just wanted a quick snap of it.
Sure.
I
Yeah.
just captured that image that way, and then that's what those 4 images are.
Oh, that's great.
So, yep.
Really, really cool. Is there anything else you'd like to show off?
Well, let's see
I've
what
seen a
else.
lot of really cool stuff.
I could show this image mapper, I think. Let's see
Oh yeah.
if it likes to work here.
This is the one with the office building. No.
Hmm.
Okay.
I might have too many things open here. Let's see if I try that again. We'll close one of these here.
All right. Streaming over GoToWebinar is also a resource killer.
Yeah, this one's actually been a couple of years since I've been into it, so I
Okay.
haven't like updated it with the very latest update, so that's probably not going to work
All right.
at the
No
moment.
biggie. It was somewhat similar to the pool thing in that, yeah, if I recall, you could click on a pool area segment as well and have that choose the pool, or is that?
Right. Well,
Yeah.
and it was more. It's like it's like the drawing on an image, except you can
Like
type
an
on
image
the
map?
image. Yeah,
Okay.
you could type on the image and just save it that way. So
Yeah. Neat.
let's see if I have it here in this one as well.
So if anyone has questions for Lee, now is the time to get them in. You've got about just a couple more minutes.
I think I put everyone to sleep.
You know, there are more people here now than there were at the beginning, so that's a terrific sign. Yeah. No, it doesn't look like it. Awesome.
Yeah, this work docs for me was one of my favorite things, and it took a while to get the paradigm of this, but
Yeah.
like I say, you could have 3 different ones, and I have one just for the contracts for the business, and then I have one just for the employees' files.
Oh, that's great.
If anything needs to, basically the idea of getting rid of paper in the office. And so
Yeah.
if somebody needs to fill out a form that's not online, and of course we could have all the forms online, the W-4, the W-9, that kind of thing. But if there's just something that's not, you could scan it and put it up on AWS and then always just have it right there. And then this also works with, Adobe or Word files.
Gotcha.
And then, for example, house cleaning chart
Nice.
or compliance hotline. So every business has their own little set of things that,
Yeah.
they have to have. And so this is just a really nice way to keep that stuff.
Yeah. That is awesome. Hey, Lee, listen, thanks very much. I really appreciate you doing this demo today.
Sure.
So we're gonna break now. Thank you everyone who attended. Thanks Dion and Sarah for standing by. If you do have further questions, of course, you can always send them to guides@alphasoftware.com. I believe Lee is also active on the message board from time to time if you want to reach him there.
Yep.
And that's about it. We hope to see you at next week's webinar. Take care and stay well. Thanks again. Bye-bye.
Bye.